Team Crew Advisor, Jane. Oh, there you are.
Oh, have I got the rest of my team? Are they here?
Yes, we're here. Can we kick off?
Okay.
Take it away
Yes,
then,
please.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. We're Jane, Stuart, and Aish from RightShip, and our idea is crewadvisor.com. See life at sea clearly. Have you ever made a decision that was influenced by star ratings? Maybe you bought something, chose a holiday, maybe even went out for dinner and needed to check out reviews of the restaurant you plan to go to, or looked at an organization's reputation. There was a recent poll on LinkedIn, and it showed that 77% of people answering had been influenced by star ratings. So, how does this link to the problem that we are trying to solve? And what is the problem we're trying to solve? We're looking at information asymmetry in maritime recruitment and retention. So, shipping lacks a one-stop solution where job seekers can actually obtain peer reviews, insights on the companies that they want to work for. And we want a platform that encourages best practice, calling out the leaders and laggards in DEI at sea, and reward those who do it well. According to current reports, if recruiting practices and shipping don't change, the maritime industry will have a significant employee shortfall, and estimates peg that at about 26,000 people by 2026. So we asked, who has traditionally gone to sea and why are they not going now? We also asked ourselves, what puts people off from going to sea? How can we change that? So our idea is a DEI-focused crew advisor app and website. And yes, it's very influenced by the websites you know, like TripAdvisor, Glassdoor, or Breakroom, but specifically for the maritime sector and for seafarers. So what it allows us to do is collect data, not only the standard set of questions that we want to ask, but Jane will go through, but also people can state their job role, who they work for, and even other data like age, gender, race, etc. Although we could explore options to anonymize what is sensitive. Over to you, Jane.
So we chose these 10 questions for specific reasons. Some of them are aspirational in that they might not be happening yet, but they could in the future. Food, for example, is social, it's cultural, it's linked to health. It's important that people are happy with what they're eating. The main reason that people leave life at sea, we've found, as well as many other types of employment on land, is either because they already have a family that they're not spending time with, or because they want to have one. A study from US company KinderCare says that 81% of working parents said that a company's childcare benefits were a key criteria to choosing a job. Sony Music just introduced a package that could see parents accessing up to £15,000 a year in childcare support. If I was young and looking to get pregnant right now, I'd be thinking of switching to Sony. A commitment to providing Wi-Fi is now mandatory at sea in international law, though not just yet and not for free. But which employers will go above and beyond? Wi-Fi means you can call home. It means connection in more ways than one. And finally, research shows that the presence of mentors and an entire ecosystem of support is especially beneficial for women seafarers. Employees with mentors are promoted 5 times more than their non-mentored peers. Our questions aim to highlight which companies provide the complete best practice package. So answers to the 10 questions would contribute to a scoring system where the company's rated. The idea being that people want to work for the ones that score well. The issues that we foresee and how we address these are skewed reviews. We allow right to reply so that companies can respond to reviews with relevant policies or success stories. Inappropriate content. We have guidelines so that input is reviewed before being published. And bogus reporting. We utilize AI to identify reports from the same IPs. Over to you, Stu.
Just to add there, we did some market research. We gathered some insights from our ex-man and our colleagues, and many of them thought crew advisor would be good and it'd be useful for them if they were still at sea, and how they would challenge themselves and look for new opportunities. And some of these were some of the comments we got. But are there some similar products out there or services available? Yes, there are. But when we looked at them closely, we felt they didn't do exactly what Crew Advisor was trying to do. They didn't focus on specific companies or adopt a similar rating, and give individuals the opportunity to share the reviews. So How can Crew Advisor be communicated and scaled across the maritime industry? As with most startups, the scaling would be the most hardest part, making sure its existence is known and shared. But working with key industry organisations such as the P&I clubs, the maritime charities, flag states, port authorities, ITF, would offer the opportunity to spread the word and for it to pick up momentum. Sharing and communicating through established social and maritime media feeds, using friends in media, friends in the industry, Maersk influencers, networks such as Wister. All these networks and social platforms have an avenue in which the word could be spread. It could also be promoted by forward-thinking ship owners and operators, such as those shown and engaged in this DEI-related discussion, and they could encourage their employees to utilise the tool, such as rate us, as you see when you go to hotels.
Thank you, guys.
Are you coming to the end?
Yep, yeah. We're almost there. So yeah, and there's also the potential to future monetize the idea, so it becomes self-funded, I guess, through subscriptions for ship owners, and also the allowance for advertisements. And then just finally, yeah, we feel very much that this website could be a place where the collaborative knowledge of the shipping communities, companies that are welcoming, forward-thinking, and future-proofed would be available for everyone. Thank you for listening. That concludes our pitch.
Thank you, guys. Beautiful. We'll limit to 3 questions. If we have time for that, go for it.
Questions?
Yes, Melanie.
Cool. Would it be anonymous for the crew, or would they submit their names as well? And if so, then how do you create the right psychological safety for people to actually rate companies that they're working for?
I think we have some proven stories from both Glassdoor as well as some other career sites that exist. And you would see that a lot of those inputs are anonymous, so that whoever is submitting it, the employee, remains anonymous. They do have the option to submit their location, the title, and then, therefore you can link back to a lot of other data. But normally you never see the name of the employee there. So I think that solves for the protection problem that you addressed.
It's about TripAdvisor. I could answer it as Mrs. Jane Carmichael from London, or I could answer it as brilliantcopywriter.com. So it's up to the user. And again, I suppose it depends on what kind of review they're submitting. They might feel comfortable if it was a good thing and uncomfortable if it was a bad thing. And that's part of what we're trying to do here, is that I think there's such a skew when you're in interview. You might not want to ask some of these questions. So to know that information ahead of time would be helpful for individuals.
Tyrone, I'm conscious of time now. So
Karen and Mia.
Just a quick one, and probably I should be the last one to ask questions to this team, but I'll still do. If you think about Glassdoor and think about Indeed.com, there is an element of transparency on the disclosures because they've arrived at that position in the market. Even then, you see a lot of the reviews that are not true for some of the companies, and companies have introduced the right to respond to that. Have you thought about initial adoption? So from a crew perspective as well, how would you drive adoption, especially in the early days where the crew actually knows that there's no response coming from the companies in the early days?
Yeah, so the right to respond is definitely something we have thought of as to address possible skews and answers. And in terms of adoption, we'd have to simply go the way that those websites did as well. So tap into our contact people we know. Even for the survey we did for our insights, we sent it to 25 people, 20 of them came back in just one day. So I think that's one way to drive initial adoption and scale. And I think the rest follows, again, very logically. Any company that wants to be highlighted as an employer of choice, especially on a popular platform, will come forward with that. And we are also looking at job advertisements, putting up, and like we showed on the slides, so linking back to conferences in maritime, upskilling courses, etc., to be part of the way to monetize and drive adoption and popularity of the website and the app.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Or
Yeah.
Mia?
No, well, you mentioned
I-
the question being, oh, sorry.
Well,
Sean, you
carry
want to
on.
go?
You can go first.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned kind of the difference from Glassdoor was in terms of the questions, but would that be something Glassdoor could just introduce because they already have the platform and the scale and the name out there?
We did discuss that actually, that might be a thing. We approached the boss of Glassdoor and say, hey, we've got this idea. Do you fancy it? Maritime's an industry that's not really been tapped into. The difference being with the score, I suppose we were thinking about things like what RightShip does, the safety score, the GHG rating. So it's that very instantaneous kind of, where's your score out of 10 on these 10 questions? They don't have to be the 10 we've picked. That's just us thinking about what we thought were important. Obviously, you would do research with a wider range of people who have been at sea. I've not been at sea. Aisha's not been at sea, and some of the comments that we got back from our colleagues did give us some feedback on where we'd have to tweak those questions. But obviously, this is a 3-day process.
Yeah.
We left it as was for now.
And by keeping it as a score, because shipping's multinational, Glassdoor slightly lends itself to an English-speaking audience a lot more, and then shipping being international, a score most and seafarers they can translate that a lot easier than a bunch of words than the current offering that the likes of Glassdoor offers.
Thank you. Let's have Sean's. I'm just conscious we've got two more pitches to go, so I don't want to really be.
Yeah, mine's
So
quick.
Sean, quick one.
Yeah. With this, are you targeting by going out to the seafarers or the shipping companies to get responses, or is this a voluntary thing coming into the website to answer? And if it is the latter, how do you verify that person actually even worked for the company they're commenting on?
This is exactly a challenge that we have with the TripAdvisor, or someone mentioned Airbnb in a previous thing. How did you know that person actually went to that thing, or how did you know that there is obviously an element of, yeah, well, we don't know. But it's been very successful in TripAdvisor, Glassdoor. Within that, you've got to be willing within such an initiative to accept an element of potential for mistruth, but within that, the truth will shine through. Is what
I mean, and there is still that opportunity for right to reply. So if somebody wrote something that was clearly nonsense or really angry, and again, we said we would make sure, much in the way that Glassdoor does, that you wouldn't get individuals named, for example, nothing like that. There would be no opportunity for sour grapes. You could, they could fight back. Here is our policy about this. Here is some evidence from an employee that says that that's not true, whatever it was. So yeah, there is a danger, but what can you do? That's true of every rating system.
All right, thank you guys. And